This is OTB Sports Radio.
And a very good morning to you. Welcome along to Wednesday morning's OTB AM. We're here with you every morning from 7:30 until 9:30. If you want to get involved in the conversation, use the hashtag OTB AM. Follow us on Twitter or leave a comment on YouTube. We had a load of YouTube comments yesterday on our piece with you, and we'll play a bit more of that for you in the coming days as well. You can get the full thing on podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. The best place these days, of course, is the Go Loud app or offtheball.com/pods. Kenny Cunningham, special guest this morning. How are you?
Morning, Ger. Owen.
You're a morning person, really, aren't you? When it comes down to it, you do your best work in the morning.
Yeah, very much so. It's a low bar, you're right, but yeah, probably so.
Neither myself or Eoin, it turns out, are really morning people.
I'm a morning person.
You're not.
I am a morning person. I'm just not pleasant at any time of the day. I'm just happen to be more pleasant at morning time than I am at night time.
I would have thought you are in a morning pair, just in terms, always very well groomed in the morning. It's not he wouldn't say literally drags himself out of his bed.
The kids these days, Kenny, you know?
So thank you very much, Kenny. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me. But
a bit of respect there.
Make sure the selfies work and they look good, you know.
I wouldn't say you're the opposite, are you?
Exactly,
I wouldn't go that far, but
yeah, look, peas in the pod, you and me, Kenny.
Take as you find me.
There definitely hasn't been a caricature done of Ger recently to kind of further that trope.
Look, you know, the truth stings. What can I say? It's been an interesting night, Kenny. You were working on the Palace game. Palace were up to 6th. Is that right? Is that what I read that this morning?
Yeah.
Are they any good?
I really enjoyed the performance last night. I mean, a lot of talk of Palace and how pivotal Zaha has been previously, and also this season, off the back of the turmoil at the start of the season, with him being linked to what now, demanding a move, not happening. Could Hudson get him back on side? If not, Palace were doomed, kind of relegated. Yeah, but I always felt really people were missing the point. I think the biggest personality, the biggest asset that Crystal Palace Football Club is the manager, Hudson. Just in terms of his coaching, his ability to put a team together, in particular the defensive side of the game, organise a team, make them difficult to beat and get the very best of what's available to him. And that, last night I thought was the best ever example of that. As soon as they lost a man, Sacco kind of first half, it's almost as if they went into lockdown. He just flicked the switch on the touchline, and his team just went into kind of defensive mode for the rest of the game. I thought it was actually hugely impressive. Probably didn't make for a great watch. I'm sure people potentially might have been switching off.
Sacco was sent off after 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was a lot. I thought it was deserved. I was working with Damien last night. He the opposite view. I thought it was a red card personally, but
it was Stonewall, I thought. Even like right over the ball into the shin, wasn't it?
Yeah, I could understand. There was one of them, the ball got away from him and you're desperately trying to retrieve the situation, but you're kind of travelling at speed, your kind of legs extended. Yes, he made clear contact with the ball, but the momentum just took him into the player. So for me, it was a red card. But like I said, no kind of panic after that. Palace just dropped into a really solid defensive shape and really just frustrated Bournemouth for the rest of the game. Didn't give up any little or no opportunity, soaked up a huge amount of pressure, and then just looked to pick them off as the game moved on. You just got a sense of maybe they could actually go and win this game. So it was a bit of a tactical masterclass for me, and probably highlighted why Hudson is so important to that football club. If they do stay up for me, it'll be because of him. It won't be because of Wilfred Zaha.
James McCarthy came off the bench at half-time. Did he play well?
Well, this is another amazing because at half-time you're thinking, any changes from Hudson? He brought off Townsend, who was playing right side midfield. Zaha was on the left. 2 banks of four and 1 striker once they had the player sent off. Half-time immediately whipped Townsend off and brought James McCarthy on right side in midfield. Again, almost accepting the fact, right, just going to bring a centre midfield in our right side midfield, just asking to sit in there and do his defensive duty, which he did admirably, like, you know what I mean?
So nothing, you can't...
No, exactly, no. It wasn't one of those performances. He just needed to sit in there and play a disciplined role for the team. But I was pleased to see him on the pitch because I'm always looking at James in view from the Irish perspective, thinking, games, he needs time to pitch this lad.
Just minutes, we'd be happy.
Yeah, because I still haven't given up on him, so it's good to see him at least get 45 minutes under his belt.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll talk about that. We'll talk a bit about Man City. We'll talk about tonight's games with Kenny a little bit later on as well. But if you want to get anything off your chest this morning, now would be a good time to use the hashtag OTB AM. We'll tell you what's coming up on the show in just a minute. Here we are. Yeah, sports pages coming your way. We've got football with Kenny, obviously going to talk about all the big stories. Andy Mitten's going to join us around about 8:05 as well to talk about Manchester United, obviously. Jose Mourinho centre stage at the moment. And sports news then before we put Shane Lowry up against Ireland versus the All Blacks in Chicago. Now, there's clearly only one winner in that, but someone's going to have to play devil's advocate today. Who's that going to be on?
It's certainly not going to be me.
And then Andy Lee is going to join us from California because one of his charges is fighting tomorrow. We'll get the full details on that.
It's Sarah Oakes, Sean Gannon in conversation with John Duggan there.
Ahead of the Ballyboden match at the weekend. Right, so time for the papers.
OTB AM.
The back page of the Irish Independent. Burn your trophies, the secrets of Gavin's success. So we're starting to get some information. Urging his team to burn their trophies at the end of every season and reading books and motivational theories, which is some of the secrets of Jim Gavin's remarkable success as Dublin manager. Gavin made the revelations at the KPMG Irish Independent Property Industry Excellence Awards. There's a mouthful for you. It turned out to be one of his final interviews as Dublin manager. Obviously, we have some key performance indicators. Gavin said last Thursday it was, just 2 days before he announced his decision to step down. We have a high standard of performance we try to aspire to, and that's what drives us on. I always say to the players as well at the start of every season that we have to burn our trophies. Past success does not guarantee that you're going to win the competition again.
On a psychological level, I presume he's speaking there.
Yeah, not
opposed to literally.
Yeah.
Bomb for a night.
And then he starts talking about some books that he's read. I'm a big reader of motivational theories. Charles Handy's sigmoid curve, where you have to break things up. And the paradox in aviation and sport is that sometimes the learning is in the failure, and it's having that open growth mindset.
Very interesting. You listen to a Jim Gavin podcast series where he just talks to himself about all the things he's learned from his time in sport. So something I would subscribe to. The Daily Telegraph this morning is Brazilian magic. Jesus double strike gives City glimmer of hope in title race. They won 4-1 at Turf Moor last night, and he's back. Mourinho returns to United and could push Solskjaer closer to the exit. Paul Hayward, meanwhile, is writing about this week's big fight in Saudi Arabia, the fatal flaw that could end Joshua's career for good. And Kyle's off. That's Kyle Sinclair there. Quinn's resigned to losing brilliant Sinclair.
Also on the back page of the Indo, don't rush Ryan into the role of Ireland skipper, warns Schmidt. So Joe Schmidt obviously has been doing his book tour, and he says James Ryan has the maturity to assume the Ireland captaincy if asked, but he's warned against rushing him into the role. The one thing I would just be hesitant about is that I wouldn't want to put too much on his shoulders. He's got a great set of shoulders, they're growing all the time, as is the rest of his body. I think it would be great to let him grow into himself before giving that responsibility to him. At the same time, it can help a person grow in stature because they do assume that responsibility. James is a guy that tends to take things in his stride. So that was whether or not I think this was a question, it might have been a question from the crowd. Joe Malloy's doing the interviews. There's one in Limerick as well, maybe tonight actually, or tomorrow night. And one of the questions was who should be the Ireland captain? And James Ryan, he's obviously like, yeah, just maybe not yet.
I think that's fair. I mean, he's only such a short period. He's still only been a...
He's 23, I think. Now, people are saying, oh, but Brian O'Driscoll was 23. It's like, it was a very different time in that there was...
Is there a need? What are the people... Is there some obvious candidates would clearly jump off the page?
Peter O'Mahony and Jonathan Sexton, I would have thought. I would say O'Mahony would be the front runner.
I'd say Sexton's the front runner, to be honest. I think, is O'Mahony guaranteed his spot?
He's not guaranteed a spot, I suppose, but, well, who's going to come in for him? Is he guaranteed a spot if there was a test match in the morning? Yes.
Is he?
Think so.
Well, we don't know what Andy Farrell thinks.
Like, we don't know how he views Rhys Ruddock and what the pecking order is at 6.
I mean, if Joe Schmidt was picking the team tomorrow, you would say...
Peter O'Mahony.
Yeah, but he's not anymore.
Well, that's true, yeah. Like
Is rugby different to football in terms of how much style you put on whether the player is actually going to play, is going to be a regular starter?
Yeah, because you've got to have the conversation with the referee. The referee officially addresses the captain around a load of stuff that...
Yeah, you don't want to get into a situation, you name your captain, suddenly, a month down the road, you pick your first team, he's not in it, and you're putting up a new captain, for the game and things. I don't think that's ideal. It's an obvious thing to say, but I think generally when you choose your captain, I've had kind of club captains and stuff like that, but I think it's an awkward, really, when you choose your captain, he's not actually leading out the team, he's not in the starting team on a regular basis.
James Ryan is probably going to get the most minutes in 2020 of that trio of Sexton, Peter Mahoney and James Ryan.
But would that be, with Johnny Sexton, you feel, in terms of if he was to go over Sexton and give it to James Ryan, would think that would hurt Sexton a little bit in terms of that he'd be passed over?
Maybe,
he feels as if maybe he's earned it out of respect to him. He feels, even for a relatively short period of time. How long has Johnny Sexton realistically got in him?
I don't know.
A couple of years, 2 to 4 years at this level?
Yeah. The 4 years would obviously take him up to the next World Cup. He'd be 37, which would be like old in international rugby terms. But like,
you would think in terms of his standing within the squad, the respect he has from the other players, you would feel as if almost that he's earned it, Sexton, for the next 2 to 4 years. And that's the obvious time for James Ryan in terms of what Smith's talking about, to kind of grow into the role in the meantime, and then a natural transition then after that period of time. That's obviously me from the outside looking in. But
the other contender maybe would be Robbie Henshaw, potentially. Like you're thinking about people who've been around the squad for a number of years, for a handful, and will be there for a while. Tyke Furlong is potential another one, but I think in the long term, I think James Ryan is I think if you put age aside, he's got the most captaincy material. Like you can imagine James Ryan having a conversation with a referee and making sense and being calm, even if the referee has just screwed you. And that's one good practical hallmark of a rugby captain.
I do see the point though, but giving him a bit of time to grow into himself, because he still looks like hasn't quite got all of his man strength just yet. Like, he's going to get bigger, he's going to get stronger, he's going to be a more dominant player. In 4 years' time, he'll still only be 27. All things being equal, as a second row, you can go on to 34, you know. So
I still think, though, Jared, the biggest factor is kind of how he's perceived within the dressing room amongst the players, his relationship with the players. That's the most important thing. The other thing you're talking about is relationship, how he communicates with the referee. Jared's talking about physically, he's probably not at the peak in terms of his prowess as a player. But for me, it's about how he's perceived by the other players in the dressing room. That's the most important factor. Has he got their ultimate respect?
Yeah, and ultimately we'll never know until the books come out and go, I didn't think that guy was good, or that guy was a bad captain, which they never actually do, as we all know.
Not even in here.
No.
Not even in the studio, Jerry. You can't prize it out of him.
Eventually we do.
Find it hard to believe.
And then the last one here from the Indo back page. FAI staff braced for worst ahead of accounts being published. So the FAI accounts are going to be published. Paul Cook was yesterday put into an executive role, the title of executive lead. So he was obviously the vice president before this, and he's going to fill this role until they get an interim CEO and they appoint the 4 independent board directors, all of which could take quite a while. So
Head-rec.
So Paul Cook could be in that job for a while. And the Star, they said he's doing it on a voluntary basis. So fair play to him for doing that. There's just one other thing from inside the Indo that I want to talk about.
He's lashing those expenses, though.
No, not at all. I don't think so, Kenny.
Inappropriate comment.
Yeah, exactly. We straight away take that back. Irish Independent here. Record income of 6.1 million helps Kerry to a profit despite 1.4 million spend on teams. This is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you never know after all the stories that come out in the off-season how well or how badly a county board has been run. But it clearly seems that Kerry have got something resembling a house in good working order. This obviously comes from very, very, very good recruitment of cash outside the country bounds. They do exceptional tours to the United States. A lot of expats who are very passionate about their county.
So why don't Kerry get a lot of crap from everybody about taking money out of the local GAA scene? The way the GPA aren't allowed to do this, but the Kerry County Board are. What's the difference?
Because people would view the GPA to be recruiting for the elite only. And
Kerry are
Kerry
recruiting
GAA,
for...
Well, they pumped the money back into...
1.4 million on their team.
County team. They still have a lot of cash that pumps into the club scene in Kerry. Like, I mean, the county board funds everything. It's not just that they're not just taking the money and...
The club's not pay the county board. I mean, they do.
Well, they pay the extra... Everybody pays the extra 10 quid for their All-Ireland ticket, as we obviously found out
But
last
clubs
year.
do pay the county board. That's like one of the sources of their revenue. It's not like the county board are paying the clubs for stuff, is it?
Well, not on a kind of day-to-day basis, but if there's anything needed, like it's a very well-run county in terms of
facilities and
facilities. Yeah, like I'd need to. Like, I know a lot of the facilities and stuff come from more national funding bodies, don't they? And especially the big centre developments, they don't actually come from the centre. But like the argument would always be there, especially in the last 10 years, that to keep pace with Dublin, you do need to have ridiculously strong financial arm.
Yeah, so spare me the Dublin have loads of money argument. Kerry have loads of money too now, right?
What? It's spare you the Dublin have loads of money. Like,
Well, just if you're Kerry. I mean, everybody else can complain about it, but Kerry can't anymore because they're loaded.
Who from Kerry's been complaining about
money.
that?
I don't know.
That's a good thing, though, isn't it? So they've been generating huge funds from outside America. You're talking about and saying, what's this like dinners and just general stuff in terms of selling
question, what is
tickets
this,
for
Kenny? Yeah,
and
what
that,
is
and
this?
you
How are they
said-
making the money?
You said private money and stuff like that. That's not like private donations, or anything. That's kind of like.
I don't think so. I think it's huge gala dinners in the likes of Boston, Chicago, and New York.
That's perfectly fine, isn't it? Yeah.
They kind of go like a carousel between the three cities, and fair play to them.
Yeah.
Carpet bagging. Well, the argument that the GPA here is that, the local GAA scene are annoyed about Irish counties coming over and taking money out of the local GAA scene that could be going into the local GAA scene. Frankly, I think that argument is kind of bunkum on both
Well,
sides.
so would I. I would agree with the
Kerry
point
taking all the money they can out of America.
But I would also agree with the fact that the GPA can go over, and if it's going towards even, like, people say the elite footballer, but obviously Paul Flynn will come out and say it's for all the inter-county footballers. It's not just your Dublins, your Kerrys and your Mayos. And I think that is the truth, and I think that is fair enough for them to be trying to pump as much money back into the players. Now, if the clubs are seriously being hampered over in New York and there is a material impact on what they're doing, then perhaps this needs to be re-evaluated. Like, I'm not sure, was there a specific case where there was specific clubs in the United States saying the GPA need to turn around and go home? I think it was New York, wasn't it?
Well, there was a lot of people here as well.
Right.
Who are using it as a stick to beat the GPA with. Sure, look, that's what they're going to do. The double page spread here from Vincent Hogan on Paul McGrath. Paul still has his dark days, but they seem less stark now, less bruising. He's 60. Paul McGrath, an icon of Irish sport, has made it to 60. There's a picture of Vincent Hogan and Paul McGrath picking up the Sports Book of the Year award back from the brink, and there's an interesting part here from Vincent at the start of this piece. There's two final sentences that the book finishes with. The past is unchangeable. It's time to stop looking behind. Everything you need to understand about Paul McGrath is maybe written in those 10 words. And he says he didn't want to call it back from the brink because he didn't actually feel like McGrath was back just yet. It felt like he was still living a life of chaos, of recklessness, followed by the most profound episodes of self-loathing. I argued against the publisher's title choice, given that it implied arrival at some point of resolution. In reality, the journey was still ongoing and routinely traumatic, but he says he's in a much better place now, living down in Wexford. And
yeah, I suppose that's the most important thing. He's still here with us. It's a great photo there, like big smile, which I'll always remember. All around the hotel, yeah.
he was in squads when you were just getting in?
I played me for a while. It's one of the standout moments of my career, to be honest with you. Yeah, my first two games I played with Paul, only two friendly games, nothing games, nobody will remember them. Czech Republic away and Wales away, funny enough, a miserable midweek. Cardiff Arms, attendance must have been 6,000-7,000. Horrible even for football, lashing rain, but I was 10 feet tall because that was the last time I played with Paul. Two games kind of back to back, and it was great. I loved it.
Where was he playing? Centre back at that stage?
Oh, centre. We played the back three in the Czech Republic. Phil Babb was the other one there, and we played together as a pair, I think, Wales, and it was great. Good talker. I mean, a lot of talk about Paul being how quiet he was, and I wouldn't say boo type thing, and he wasn't a shouter or a screamer, but yeah, he gave me a lot of good information. What
was he saying?
Just the basic stuff, and just like patting the back, even the smallest thing. Well done, grey header, good tackle. You know, meant a huge amount coming from Paul, because like I said, I wouldn't have any idols as such, generally speaking. But
you're allowed to have Paul McGrath as one. That you can make an exception in his case.
No, I love Paul as a footballer. Who's, I mean, we didn't share any attributes, obviously, but yeah, the level that he played and just his backstory. I mean, I read the book. One of the very few kind of biographies, footballing biographies I've ever read. But yeah, I was interested in the man. Obviously, like having a very didn't have a relationship of sorts with him, but like being a teammate for a short period of time. Yeah, obviously very interested in his backstory, and yeah, difficult read at times. Obviously, yeah, I understand the comments that you've made there make a lot of sense. But like I said, the most important thing he's still here with us and having his good days.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it certainly seems that he's in a better place. In terms of his performances for Ireland, sorry, before we get to that, did you play against him? Would you have been in games like? Were you at Wolves or were you at Wimbledon or Birmingham when you were playing for Ireland?
I
with
think
him?
if I might have played against him, yeah, because I went to the Premiership. When did I go through? 93, I think I signed for Wimbledon in the Prem. I think I made my international debut in 96 when Paul was still playing, so he might have still been hanging. Where was his last club, Paul? He left Villa, did he? Where did he end up?
Derby County.
5 or 6.
Derby. I think I might have played against him at Derby.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Paul was... It's easy to say, I don't think we must realise how good he is. I think we do, generally speaking.
I'd say
good.
there's a generation of people who don't really fully understand how amazing.
Maybe that generation, teenagers now, maybe early 20s, maybe when you haven't seen somebody play live, no recollection somebody playing live on a kind of week-to-week basis, and you're just going off of clips here and there. I don't think you get a sense of how good players were. Paul was like... I don't think there was anybody better than Paul in terms of centre-half, midfield. Centre-half, I'd say, predominantly. You could argue maybe midfield in terms of, was he that ball-playing centre midfield player? Probably not so much, although he found it easy in any area of the pitch. But as a centre-half, he was absolutely phenomenal. Hadn't got a weakness. He really hadn't got a weakness in his game. Speed over the ground, calmness... Reading the game was absolutely phenomenal.
Unbelievably strong. I think that's that. Is that his last game for Ireland? The 2-0 defeat against Holland at Anfield. Is that Jack's last game? Maybe, I don't know, did he play on after
Like
that?
I said, that's what I did a couple of games. I think in 97 I would have played with him because I wasn't playing at this time. So I would have played a couple of games after this with him, and I think maybe he might have stepped aside
So that must have come
after that, yeah. But the lads have seen, the lads who played with him obviously speak better than me. But
He actually went on to Sheffield United after Derby
Sheffield
County.
a load of
United,
different clubs for short periods at that stage.
we talk about now, centre halves now in the modern game, ball playing centre halves. We talk about the dearth of quality defenders, how you're pigeonholed now as a centre half, even a midfielder in terms of attacking midfielder, and he's a holding midfielder, or he's a ball playing centre half, or he's just a bog standard, rudimentary centre half. But people like Paul and his ilk just could do anything, could do everything, could defend, knew how to defend, enjoyed the defending, comfortable on the ball, could play, just could do it all.
Unbelievably strong. The thing that stands out for me is that everybody who played beside him ended up having their best seasons. So Sean Teal was a defender at Aston Villa.
That's right.
That everybody was like, "Oh, this guy's really good," and then he left, and it was like, "Hang on a second, you're absolutely no good at all compared to what you were like beside him." Phil Babb looked amazing in that World Cup. Gets the move on the basis of, I think, of that really in those performances, and then isn't as good as he looked beside Paul.
But I think that people like that, I think the biggest asset those people have is the reading of the game. Because when you say, what does that mean, they make you look good? Well, they make you look good because any small mistake which you might make in terms, you make a poor decision in terms of positional sense, maybe trying to anticipate a ball in front, the ball gets played in behind, your man spins in behind, normal circumstances, he gets in and goal, he scores, everybody's pointing the finger at you, you've made a massive mistake. Someone like a Paul McGrath would read the situation. That ball over your head, which you haven't anticipated, he's sweeping across the back, wins possession of the ball, it's gone. There's nothing spoken about. You haven't made a mistake and it hasn't been isolated. People haven't pointed the finger, and that's how he makes you look good, because he plays your game for you. But I think it comes down to that type of player for me has to be an exceptional reader of the game, because that's how that type of player gets you out of trouble, particularly at centre-half, having that type of player around you.
I saw him play for Villa against Spurs, and Spurs had Gary Lineker playing, and Villa went 3-0 up with a David Platt hat-trick. Lineker got taken off at that stage. Paul McGrath was just like killing him. They ended up getting back to 3-2, but I'd never seen a striker who was as important as Gary Lineker was to that Spurs team. He was the best player by a mile, being taken off in a game, like in a league game. Yeah. And nobody was surprised he got taken off because McGrath just swallowed him. Yeah. There was some of Roy Keane's performances for Ireland. You think of the Holland game, you think of the Portugal game at home, were as dominant as the McGrath performances were for Ireland. But nobody else that I can remember playing for Ireland would be as dominant against their direct opponent or anybody who came into their area as McGrath was.
Because he had all the tools, Gerard. I spoke about, I thought he was a very, very good read of the game. You've spoken about his physical strength there. It didn't strike me as one of Paul Ness, who was in the gym. Alton just had that natural kind of body strength and speed. Had the speed as well. So you marry all those things together, kind of speed, physical body strength, can't be intimidated, and actually a very good reader of the game. really there's nowhere to go there. There's a Lineker who was exceptionally quick. Timing of his runs was absolutely exceptional. That's where he obviously got all of his goals. But of course, Paul, because of those qualities, could counteract that. So it's everything you'd really want in a centre half. That, like I said, he had everything. That's what I mean. He had everything.
Yeah. All right.
Guardian this morning goes with "I'm not a villain or the enemy." Jose Mourinho turns on the charm before return to Old Trafford, and there's a picture there as well of Gabriel Jesus celebrating one of his goals in Manchester City's 4-1 bid at Burnley. City's title bid is resurrected, reads the headline.
If you want some more Paul McGrath goodness coming your way at 1 o'clock today, we'll bring you a very special Paul McGrath interview from OTB Gold on the Go Loud app or on offtheball.com/radio to listen live. The back page of the Herald this morning: job cuts fear for FAI staff. This is the grim reality. FAI staff are braced for the worst, including the axing of key programmes as well as job cuts, after Minister for Sport Shane Ross again said there was still no prospect of government funding being restored. Vice President Paul Cook has been appointed as the interim head of the association with the title of executive lead, but Cook's appointment has not placated Ross, who has called for complete regime change, especially as the FAI say Cook will report directly to President Donald Conway. Ross has repeatedly called for Conway to step down, and they have Conor McKeown has a story here. John Costello and Sean Shanley will head up the subcommittee to be ratified tomorrow night and tasked with identifying Jim Gavin's replacement as Dublin senior football manager. That's what you'd expect. It's the CEO and the county board chairman. And so they say they're going to cast a wide net and speak to as many interested parties as possible, but they do hope to make an appointment on or before annual convention on Thursday week. So it's Dessie Farrell or Pat Gilroy's, right? That's it.
You would have thought so.
Yeah. Anything else would be a massive shock. Well,
It would be, actually, yeah.
Jason Sherlock be a huge shock?
I think it would be if the two boys are in the mix. I think it would be a bit of a shock, given the managerial experience of Dessie Farrell through underage teams and obviously Pat Gilroy's experience as an All-Ireland winning manager. I just think their credentials as the number one on the sideline is just far superior. But Jason Sherlock will have his eyes on this job eventually, and when is the right time for you to step up and become the number one? Is it actually after being the Mayor Forna for Jim Gavin right after he's retired, and given like he actually knows these players and their current guys?
Would they take Jim's views into consideration? Would that conversation be had? Would Jim sit down with the board in terms of offering an opinion in terms of the way forward for Dublin, or would he totally detach himself from that process?
I'd say if they asked him to, he would, but it doesn't strike me like he'd be saying, "No, look, you have to give it to this guy because he'll continue our work." You know,
he's not Alex Ferguson.
No.
In that sense, I feel. I don't think he'll be.
It's an interesting one, like, yeah.
Like, I think Sherlock, maybe he knows that the bunch of players actually better than Gilroy and Farrell at this point, because he's obviously worked with them more recently, and maybe that makes him a candidate as well. So I think that it will be a shock if he got it, but anyone outside of those three will become something in the ballpark of huge shock.
Yeah, and Conor McKeown confirms last night that Brian Fenton was the second player the first to publicly comment. Obviously, there had been an Instagram post from Paul Mannion, which is just a photograph with no comment. In a post on his Instagram account last night, Brian Fenton said, "Forever grateful to this man who gave me the chance to live out a boyhood dream and have some of the best days of my life. Exciting chapter ahead with hopefully many more great days to come." So,
Philly McMahon, I think, commented as well.
Did he?
Last night. Also offering his congratulations to Jim Gavin on a great...
They've been quiet, haven't they? I thought they'd all be coming out kind of saying this was amazing.
Is there any role for Jim going forward? Not necessarily Dublin, but in terms of the guy, generally speaking, on a national level. I mean, such an exceptional manager and obviously a great thinker and huge qualities. I mean, obviously, he'll probably detach himself for a short period of time. I understand that, but I mean, going forward, is that him? Is that his relationship now with?
Well, he'll be involved with the club. Like, as far as I know, he's taken one of the underage teams, like one of the very young teams in his local club. But it does seem like it's
apart from that, I'm talking about in the higher echelons of the game.
You'd like to think there's room for somebody like that, wouldn't you?
It's a good shout. It's actually something that hasn't been spoken about all week. But when the next DG role is up for grabs in years and years' time, in fairness, once Tom Ryan has done his job, I wonder, is Jim Gavin one of the names you would automatically throw into the hat? Because like Liam Sheedy was one of the names obviously that was thrown in automatically, but I know that kind of comes from his professional background. Perhaps
Sheedy works in the bank.
Yeah, like was there a management role or something in the bank that kind of
a big job in the bank, like in fairness.
Yeah. But, like, and is Jim Gavin's role similar, or is like I don't know if the professional aspect plays anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't be leaning on that. I understand the point you're making. I wouldn't be thinking of that primarily, just in terms of how he can impact the game on a bigger stage. I know he's been linked with Dublin clearly, so, and he's perceived to be a big Dublin man, the manager, and very heavily invested in the Dublin scene for a long period of time. But the little bit I know of Jim, clearly bigger picture stuff. He's got a huge. I'm sure he's got it in terms of the well-being of the game and the going forward on a national level, just in terms of all of the counties and where we're going. And maybe he'd have some kind of input. Clearly, he would. He'd have an opinion and maybe even ideas and clear ideas, pathways in terms of where we need to go for the good of the whole of the.
It's a great idea, Kenny.
Well, it's not. It's an easy thing to say. I know what you mean, but
I don't think
it's such a key figure, like not just for Dublin, but I think bigger. He's been bigger than Dublin. I think really, like, you know what I mean.
The terrifying thing is if he becomes CEO of Dublin GAA, and that's the thing that Dublin should probably be doing, is to try and keep him in house rather than whatever. I'm sure he'll take some time out of the kind of high octane nature of being involved with GAA all the time. But when he goes back, like, I'd agree. I think it's something that the GAA itself should be looking at. But to get there before them is something that Dublin GAA should probably be considering for their own house, I think.
Kenny's saying it's bigger than that, though.
It is bigger than that. Like, he is.
The Philly McMahon Instagram post was, sorry, what a journey this man has helped us go on. The person he is, he will want to continue. And then a blue love heart.
The Racing Post this morning has a picture of Undersow on the front, looking to make history in Tasty Tingle Creek Clash, looking to become the oldest horse to land the prestigious Grade 1 contest. Back of the Racing Post then is Red and Buried. Anfield defeat could be final straw for Silva. It's an 8:15 kick-off tonight between Liverpool and
8:15 kick-off.
Four big games tonight. Midweek football. Woo!
Well, you can get the first half of United Spurs, and then you can get a game and a half in full, which is a good opportunity for anybody who likes football.
I think in terms of expected, I think the Spurs United game could be actually, say, so-called better game. You know what I mean? I think in terms of end-to-end, maybe more of an open, go get him, go at him type of game. I think probably United, Liverpool maybe a little bit more, kind of tacked a bit more tense, I think, but as a spectacle. But yeah, two massive games. Different reasons.
The Daily Mirror, the back page this morning, VAR is a mess. Seferin, it's time to draw a line on technology for offside and handball calls. UEFA President Alexander Seferin has revealed he does not like VAR and labelled it a mess. Maybe we're coming to the end of the VAR era. Jesus in his prime. Gabriel Jesus delivered the perfect package for Pep Guardiola as Manchester City lit up Amazon Prime's opening night of Premier League coverage. Burnley 1, Man City 4 there, and Ross still wants more from the FAI. So, Jose, I'm not the enemy to the Reds. He's gone on a PR offensive, I think it's fair to say. He's like, oh, no, I was very happy living in my, holed up in my penthouse in the Lowry.
Rapunzel.
The Irish Daily Mail back page is a free rescue. Interim FAI Chief Cook will work without a salary, so he's agreed to work for the FAI without pay as the effective interim CEO of the embattled association. Jesus stars as Slick City dominate, and that's pretty much it. Hurley's dreams of All-Ireland glory, meanwhile, drove him through dark days. That's in their Gaelic game section.
The London Times, Wenger, it is time to use VAR screens. I mean, come on, it's pretty easy.
Do me a favour.
Pretty easy. Well, they can just watch them inside and tell everybody what's going on.
As if this is the answer. As long as fans can see it, that's it. It'll all be.
Rugby works fine. Do you not think rugby works fine?
I've no interest. I'm watching it at home on the telly. I've no interest, and it's boring me to tears.
Do we not think that?
I'd rather be in the stand, not
get the right.
Not having the pictures.
Not
in all
get the right
honesty.
answer though. You're not get the right answer. Like,
the right answer.
This was offside or not offside. That was a handball. That wasn't a handball.
Do we not get a heap of?
It's not the offside's not the problem. It's the subjective calls, like in terms of opinion based. How different referees interpret different decisions. That's never going to go away.
Like, we got a load of right. I thought VAR worked really well last weekend, except for the Southampton handball, which led to a goal, obviously, which is a fairly big error to make. But outside of that, I thought that it had a good weekend.
No, we'll come back to this.
Back page of the Sun is fantasy football. Ole has won 6-22, but says the United supporters are not losing faith. And Jesus' cheeky double. There he is celebrating with Raheem Sterling. And Jose is...
What is a cheeky double?
It's drink reference.
In terms of the type of goals he scored, was it with cheeky finishes?
No.
Finishes?
The first one
haven't
was
seen them.
Glorious.
I was walking on the other game. Two glorious finishes might have been better headline. What's the play on the cheeky?
Because Sterling is pinching his cheeks.
Give me that. Gotcha. I'm with you now. Gotcha. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Well, there you go.
Right, very good. We've got Andy Mitten coming up next. The Irish Times, their paper, they've got Larmer is soaking up knowledge, world-class Carney, and they also have Gordon Darcy's column today. As Europe's big guns start to grow their own, Irish provinces need to find new way of evolving. Maybe they could buy London Irish. We've got Andy Mitten coming up next. Have a look.